Okay, everybody, how's everybody doing? I'm going to report today on what I told you, that what I found out, and me and my team. You have to understand this. I do podcasts and radio podcast, audio. I do the YouTube. I write on Medium and Tumblr, and then I have my People's Astrology website, and I have my theater company. That's I do a lot, and therefore I don't do it by myself. So I do have people that really help me. I do have a team together, and the information that I'm about to share with you is a little radical, but like I mentioned in Twitter, it's about what I believe this war on ISIS and the United States, and also the deal with Russia. Come to find out that according to some of the information that I've gotten, that Russia, Syria, Afghanistan, the United States, and China are in bed together. Allegedly, right? The only one that's really outside the box is North Korea, but only as an appendage because she's connected to China politically. So let us, discover some of the things that I and my peoples have discovered. ISIS, ISIS it stands for the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. 4 years of brutal wars. This was spread throughout the world. Now, another information that I got off the wire is that the beheading of American journalist James Foley was nothing but a hoax perpetrated by a production company in which YouTube hired, or they hired YouTube, or whatever fiduciary they committed to create this hoax. Allegedly. ISIS became a household name after the YouTube viewing of that beheading. This was done to inspire hatred against the Islamic State. This is what is being alleged here. Not my words, but this is what some of the, conspiracy theory are coming through. Again, that this was inspired by U.S. and NATO to wage war against Iraq and Syria. Some Israeli journalists were able to suggest that ISIS really stands for Mossad, an English translation code standing for Israeli Secret Intelligence Services. Later, they tried to cover it up by calling it ISIL, with the L. Again, allegedly. This is some of the things that are running out here. Francis Ricardoni, ambassador to Turkey, was one of the masterminds behind spreading the influence of ISIS to that region. That's another theory that's hanging out there. And my question becomes, who is Francis Ricardoni? Who is this? This is something that I, encourage you guys to search for yourself, to look for yourself. ISIS, allegedly, was created by the CIA. ISIS can be traced back to the 1980s, but as far back as the 1950s. The Afghan Mujahideen Project. Now, you have to ask yourself, what was the Afghan Mujahideen Project? That's something that I encourage you to look for yourself. The CIA, according to what I've gotten, the Afghan Mujahideen Project really was a CIA trained organization. The CIA, according to these theories, trained what's called assets, right? And along with Osama bin Laden, who's a Saudi, and his Jordanian associates, along with Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, right? Allegedly, they waged a war against Russia, not only to drive her out of the Afghanistan region, but also to reduce her military influence there. Yeah? Allegedly. Russia versus the United States and geopolitics. Okay, that's another wave theory coming through. And according to this theory, the Russian threat of domination over the Afghanistan region, stretching as far as China to the east of Turkey, okay, going into the Middle East, and the rising influence of China, led neoconservatives to the CIA, the Pentagon, and the State Department to devise a plan to cause political unrest throughout that region. Allegedly, this is what's being alleged. The United States and its allies will stop at nothing, allegedly, in securing their interests by any means necessary. Once Russia was driven out of the region and her dissolving threat of a Cold War was official, a new enemy needed to be created. A new scapegoat needed to be the threat of a Cold War, which no longer was a threat. And that's kind of deep, because who thinks along these lines? Well, a newly appointed enemy. Once the Soviet Red Army was eliminated, the Mujahideen and its radicalized groups, Saudis were, they were radicalized, these groups, and some of them, according to sources, included Saudis. And they were given another assignment by the CIA, the CIA officials that trained them, okay, to defeat the Soviet regime, to now spread disruption to a potentially new and free enterprise in Russia. The new Russian the new Russian Federation was struggling to redefine itself under the collapse of the Soviet Union, or Communist Russia. Now remember, when that happened, Russia did not have any political experience on the global scene. Once Russia became a free enterprising nation and began to compete with other nations, she was really behind. And that's where greed and these oligarchs just spawned from. Never had anything. Coming from a communist regime to now suddenly be thrown into the arena of free enterprise and capitalism. It might have driven the Russians crazy. I have talked about this in my website, The People's Astrologer, under From Russia with Love. And I go into detail about how Russia left the communist ideology to now a free enterprising ideology, in which now it can openly compete in the global market, in the global scene. Right. This is still very new for Russia. The reason, though, for this disruption, according to the CIA and allegedly from the information that has come across my desk, is not really so much about political ideology. It was really about a ploy to sabotage the Russian oil pipelines running directly from Baku and the Caspian Sea into Russia. Now, according to sources, James Baker III and his Anglo-American oil billionaires had agendas brewing in the pot. Allegedly. Allegedly. Now, my question to you is, who was James Baker? Who was James Baker III? How is he involved in this? Now, this is something that I really encourage that you find out yourself. We'll be back.